Greetings. In a previous video, we learned how to use a single revolved feature to make the rivet for the saw. This time, we're going to use this particular model to create a drawing so that it could be well defined in 2 dimensions and possibly produced by conventional means. Drawings are still used for that kind of communication and often used for ensuring that the part is created, built, produced somehow to appropriate specifications. So we will go up here and make a drawing, and it suggests drawing, so just go with OK on that. Now it gives a default of various standard formats. Your version may vary a little bit. This should be fine to pick out the ANSI, landscape, sheet size, and it comes with a variety of these formats pre-programmed. So I'm just going to pick that one because it'll work just fine for us. Okay, another thing I need to get straight is the units. Okay, now before we really get to the rivet itself, I want you to understand how these are set up. This format is a standard boilerplate that is set up behind all of the other images and dimensions and so on. In order to change it, I right-click on the background and go to Edit Sheet Format. And here I can change all of the different parts. So if I wanted to move this line, I can change. Notice how the line is actually sketched in using a regular sketching tool. So you've got a midpoint. This is even fixed just to make sure that nobody messes with it without really wanting to. This line is symmetric with this line and so on. I'll just undo that. So these things can be changed, which is all very well and good if you have your own company and you're doing this to make your sheet work better. But if you are at another institution that does their own thing, then you may not want to be messing with this. In fact, it may be off limits. Now down here we have a material and a finish and a description here. These are all metadata that can be saved with your model, and they will come in anytime that you actually have that programmed in the background. So if we used a particular type of steel here and we'd already told the model that it was going to be this type of steel with a certain finish, these things would come in the background, which is really nice. So notice how it already has saw rivet. It named the drawing after the name of the model. Now the name of the model might have a particular drawing number. I don't always like how it has the drawing number here because we use the title of the model as a drawing number. That doesn't make that much sense to me, but you can change these things around if you so desire. But for now, I do want to take care of this area. I don't want this area in here. I don't need it. So I'm just going to delete a few things here. So I don't need that line. I'm going to hit the delete key here. This line, so on. Just hitting the delete key as I click on them. Oh, wait a minute. That line goes all the way over here. What I can do is I can click on it, and I'm going to delete that. I'm going to bring that all the way over here. I can see that. Delete this line. I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to select all of these items. Oops. Just click and drag over here, all of these items, and I'm going to shift them to the right. I'm just going to use the arrow key. The right arrow key allows you to. So I moved all that over there, deleted some of these things. And so I'm going to have a little bit more space here. So that is how one might modify the format. Notice this came all the way out over here. Take this and grab it back there. And you can set many, many parameters, all the snaps and so on here. Well, I'm going to be happy with this. I can either click on this to get out of modifying the format, or I can right click here, go back to edit sheet. I'm going to click up here, zoom to fit. There we go. Next, I'm going to actually put in some views from my model. I'm going to click here on view layout, and I can go here to standard 3 view. Then double click on saw rivet. Well, it brought 3 views in, and they are the top, the front, and the right, but in this case, these aren't really what I wanted. Now, I set them up properly in my first model to show the top, front, and right, and so on, but this isn't the way I would want it set up for my drawing. So I'm going to delete these, or at least maybe just do an undo. There we go. And I'm going to instead go to Model View. I'm going to use Saw Rivet here. But here's that top view again. I want this view, I believe. That's right. That's the one I wanted. And I'm going to now bring down from the bottom, because the bottom really shows you more of what I want. Now notice how all I did was I clicked here off of this, what they call the parent view. I hit escape just to stop making views, but I can bring this up again. You know, I'm going to show that again, and I'm going to go to Model View, Saw Rivet, double click there. Now if I bring this over here, I'm pretty sure that's the top that I don't want. This is the view that I do want. And then as I move down here or over to the right, another view shows up, and all I need to do is left click and it'll come up. I can even put one off to the side like that. So do this. And then I'm just going to hit escape because I'm done making these specific views. And I'm just going to arrange them where I want them to be. Notice how this one always stays right underneath that one, and this one can move up and down. This is the parent view and this is the child view. So this one's going to stay aligned with this one, and this one will drag that one around. Okay, now I also want to have a section view. Now, one thing that's missing over here is a center line. So I'm going to click on annotation. I'm going to go to center line, and I'm just going to click on this cylindrical surface, and a center line pops up, which is really nice. So I'm going to go back to view layout, green check mark on that, and I'm going to make a section view. And here we look at the directions here. Select cutting line and place it on a view. Use the section view pop-up, or we can do an auto start if I've already created a section view possible in my model. I'm just going to click on that, and it immediately cuts it up, and my section view, notice how I can't go up or down with it, but it comes out right there. Now, for someone who's done drafting a lot in their lifetime, when this is put on a sheet of paper, it really brings home the power of this kind of software, because it had been a time when I would have taken a couple hours to make sure all these lines are put in the right spots, to put the center line here, and then plan out where I was going to put these in and draw them with a compass, and then put the hatch marks on here and so on. And all it took me here was a few seconds. What's more, if I want to move them, I can do that very, very easily. Whereas if this was a physical sheet of paper with pencil on it, There's no way it could be done that easily. Okay, the next thing I'd like to do is I would like to make a detail view of this area because it's a little bit small for doing all the dimensions. So I'm going to move this up and out of the way. And then I'm going to click on Detail View. And this little yellow note comes up. It says, hey, sketch a circle, center point first. So I'm going to click here, put this here, and then our detail view shows up right about there. And I can just place this wherever. Notice how it came up with detail E. That's because that's the next letter that hasn't been used. I used a few other letters before, so I'm just going to change that to B right up here. And it gets reflected here and here. Now, if you don't like this notation, as I don't, you can change it to a broken circle with a leader, with no leader, or even just connect it without any labeling. I like it with a leader, so I'm going to move this over here. I've got a little more space. I can move this here, so on. And I'm going to move this up here so I can get my dimensions in. So this text is associated with this view. So as I move the view, this blue box, and as I roll over it, it looks like orange. As I click it, it turns blue. All right, now that I have this, I can begin to do some of the detailing. I have all of the views that I want, all the views that are necessary. Now, I could, if I wanted to, go into what's called annotation from, say, here all the way up to here. Oh, wait a minute, that goes to the center of the circle. That's not what I wanted. And remember, I already went through all of this detailing, hitting escape to get out of there. Not only that, but I went through a lot of time and effort to make sure that what I did put in was what I intended as my design. And that's where this neat button comes up, is model items. If you go through and really figure out what it is that you want out of a design, and you put the right annotations and dimensions in, then hopefully all you'll need to do is tell it to show all of those from the entire model. And here it's asking which dimensions do I want. And you can either have diameters and whole callouts this way, or you can show the whole wizard profiles. I'll keep to this. This nice little check mark eliminates duplicates from the different views. If you had any other annotations, such as surface finishes and so on, then they might bring that out. I'm not going to show any of the reference geometry. So if I hit my green check mark now, they all show up. And then you say, but they're all really messy over here. And that is true. But that just means you need to clean them up. So take some time, move this here, move this here. Now see this 38? This 38 diameter could be here, but it could also be over here, which is harder to see. So we should, although normally we'd want to put a diameter shown with the actual circle, in this case it makes sense to keep it in a different location so it's obvious which circle it is. We have a lot of dimensions over here. Grab that 30, move it here. This whole detail might be better located up here. I'm going to put another view in here in a bit. That's why I'm trying to keep some space. Here's my 25 diameter. 03 could come back here, more easily seen that way. So I'm trying to work hard at making this very readable, legible. And that's what all of these are all about. It's about communication. Now, this 45 and this 30, they don't have to be to 2 decimal places. That is the default for this setup. So I'm just going to change that to 1 decimal place. In fact, probably don't even need 1 decimal place, but I'm just showing you how to change the precision on that. And I'm going to move this B up here so it's kind of going more in the direction of detail B and out of the way of the other dimensions. Oh, this R38. There we go. There's a snap. If you'll notice, as I move it snaps to different locations. That's all very well and good. You can change those in the options for the program. Now, what if I wanted to have this 125 and this 1 be in a different view? So this view here isn't showing much. It's all over here. I'm going to click on the 1.25, and then I'm going to click on the Shift button on the keyboard. The Shift button allows you to shift a dimension from one view to the next. So I'm going to click on the dimension and hold the Shift button down now, and then move it to another view. Release the button, release the Shift key, and now it's at this view. And so if I move this view around, the 125 will go back and forth with that. Did the same thing with the 1-inch dimension. Now, notice how the 1-inch dimension, the witness line, actually goes not to where you would want it over here, it goes all the way over here. I'm going to click that endpoint and drag it here. It doesn't always show it. Just release about where you want it to be and it'll be good. This one also seems to be a little too close. Bring that up. You can set the defaults again in the options, but all of these should be cleaned up as you're making your drawings. Now see the 0.38 diameter, yeah, that's all the way up here, so I want to bring it down here, bring that down here. Yeah, they're not even, so and now you can change this cross-hatching to something different depending on the material, but it has different defaults and material cross-hatching. These should all be good. Oh, the 03 here looks like it needs to come out. The 30 degrees also looks like it needs a little bit of help. And now you've got that offset there. Now if I wanted to change this detail up, look at all of the different options that we have here. Display states, you can use a parent tile. You can change this to have hidden lines or not. You can change the scale and so on. Now, what if there is a dimension that would be very helpful to have, but not necessarily critical for the design? Well, we can make reference dimensions. So I can click on Smart Dimension, go here, make our 71. But say I want it as a reference dimension. I just click here, parentheses, indicating that it's reference. I can do that, or if I wanted to, I can take those off, click on it again, and add by typing space REF to my green check mark, and it says reference. Okay, now I'm going to make one more view right here, and I want to make it trimetric. Problem is that I don't really like this view. I can even make it all nice and shaded and stuff, but I don't like this view. I want it to look at it from a different perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the model. This is more the view that I would like. I'm going to go to views, and I'm going to name this view. I call it Oblique 1. Hit OK. I can go back to my saw rivet. I'm going to click here, delete that particular view. Then I'm going to go to model view, this one, and notice how Oblique 1 comes up. Click right there, and that is the view I was looking for. And like I said, I can make it look like this, and maybe it's a little bit big. I can use a custom scale, make it 1:1. Yeah, it's a little bit small. That's more like it. And here is the drawing for the rivet. In this video, we started with our rivet model and went to create a new drawing to help specify it. Once there, we created our initial views, went back to create the views that we really wanted. And it was just this side view and this end view, or maybe from this perspective, this would be the bottom view. From there, we created a section view based on also making a center line. The section view came up here, and we were able to make a detail view out of this and brought that over here. From there, we used our annotation model items commands to bring out the different dimensions that we already put into the model. From there, we cleaned up all the dimensions, making them look better, and made sure that all of our witness lines were at appropriate lengths. We made sure our dimensions had appropriate precision. We moved these dimensions around so that they looked good and we could tell what they were referring to. We even put a reference dimension here and showed how we can save a view and then bring it into the drawing. Also, how to take dimensions from one view and put them into a different view. That doesn't always happen because of the way the dimension may be in a sketch. So I believe that this 38 radius was done in a sketch that is parallel to this view. So if I take this and I try to put it into this view, it would kind of be flat right down this plane. So I'm going to try to make that happen. Click, shift, drag, and notice how it pops back into this view. Okay, that's probably because it was created on a plane that is parallel to this one and would show up in a flat plane here and would not work out very well. So there are some limitations to it, but if you do you're set up with your model correctly, it will really help out. We also looked into sheet formats. So if I right click here and I edit the sheet format, I can change the lines, I can change the words, and I'm also, in this case, going to change the drawing number. So you see the title here, Saw Rivet, and I would use something else if I wanted to for the drawing number. I'm going to right click, go back to edit sheet, and so you see how we toggle back and forth between the sheet, which is all of our models and drawings and dimensions, to the format, which is all the stuff in the background that has the background information. Well, that does it for this particular video, and I hope that helped.